So, Mayor Clark, I just got to be specific here, right here on INA. As it relates to the public comment time or times that are not disruptive of the meeting, can we, the people, clap?
If we, the people, can do it decently and in order.
Is this mayor a dictator? Hey, yo, it's your boy from Celeb News. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share the video, and definitely get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Asterisk, is this man a dictator or not? So here's the situation. We're talking about the mayor of Harvey, Illinois, Christopher Clark. Now, if the name Harvey sounds familiar, that's because it's a neighboring city to Tiffany's. And let me tell you, these two mayors seem to have quite a bit in common. This video is kind of a part two. Previously, Jedediah did an interview with Mayor Clark, and what came out of it was interesting, to say the least. Apparently, the mayor runs his city meetings with an iron fist. No clapping is allowed. You heard that right. If you're in the audience and clap, even for something positive, you could be physically removed. It doesn't matter what happened. Someone could say something inspiring, and if you react with applause, you're out. Now, Jedediah is going to try and challenge that. He wants the mayor to allow applause, and it's honestly hilarious how extreme the situation has become. Later in the show, a caller comes in and absolutely gives the mayor what we like to call the business. You'll want to stick around for that. It's like we've entered some sort of reality where expressing joy or approval is banned, unless, of course, it's in favor of the mayor himself. If someone claps for him, I bet it's totally fine. Sounds familiar, right? Just like Tiffany. These two are starting to look more and more alike in their leadership styles. So yeah, we're going to break it all down, react to the clips, and have some fun with it. But seriously, let me know what you think in the comments. Is banning clapping at public meetings a sign of leadership or dictatorship? Let's hop in.
Okay, I see somebody on here talking about clapping.
That's right.
Okay. So, all right, what y'all want to do about that? Tell you what, because I don't even know what people are saying, so, but.
He doesn't even know what they're saying, but he's shaking his head like he does. All they said was clapping, and he's out here acting like, yeah, and what you gonna do about it? Sir, what are you even talking about? All she said was clapping. That's it. All he said was clapping. They're literally just talking about clapping, and your response is a whole attitude, like you understood, but clearly you don't. You're reacting to something you don't even understand.
Once again, the issue is here, everybody. I see you laughing, so I hope you're laughing at something funny. But
And we clap.
the issue here is, and you know what? We got a meeting on the 9th.
June 9th.
Okay, so we're gonna run, I guess, a clapping experiment or something like that. Because the thing about it is, if the clapping starts to get in the way of the business, is when it becomes disruptive. Okay.
The problem is, what he considers getting in the way of business is really just anything that agitates him. If you make him feel less like a king, he can't move on. He's too caught up in his feelings. I think that's what he really means by disruption. Is that what you mean, sir? Yes? No? Maybe? Because it sure looks like that's what's happening.
And if it's not getting in the way of the business, I mean, fine. So you like something, yay. You don't like something, yeah, oh, boo. Well, I guess you can boo too. But the bottom line is, you can't be disruptive.
So, Mayor Clark, I just got to be specific here, right here on INA. As it relates to the public comment time or times that are not disruptive of the meeting, can we, the people, clap?
If we, the people, can do it decently and in order.
The problem is you're the one deciding what's decent, what's in order, what you like, what you don't, when it's okay and when it's not. That's the issue. That's how you end up acting like a dictator. You're making up rules based on your feelings. But sir, your feelings don't matter, not in this role. At home? Sure. In your personal life? Fine. But in this room, in this job? No. Your feelings are irrelevant here. This isn't about how something makes you feel. It's about doing the people's business. If your emotions are getting in the way and you feel like you need to leave, then resign. But if you choose to stay and lead, then understand. Your feelings have no place in the decision-making. This job requires leadership, not emotional reactions.
Well, no, I ain't gonna say that. I was gonna say act like you in church.
You said not disruptive. I heard you, and I understood it.
Yeah, if it can be done decently and or like I said, the issue is that we're clapping like we're in a high school graduation. That's my baby. I love
because it's against him. That's what he means. It don't. Oh my God.
This is not the place for
well, Well, if somebody is saying something that's really inspiring them because they whooping your tail, people gonna want to clap. You gotta let them clap.
Yeah, I got you. Man, look,
Politicians gotta get their butts kicked.
look here. My skin is not that thin. I got
Okay.
thick skin. Like I
Prove
said,
it. Let us clap. Let us.
I told you I was a skin worker.
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Is that even a real laugh? I don't know what that was. That was one of the strangest responses I've ever seen from a public official. It all started when someone brought up clapping at a public meeting. Asterisk, asterisk, just clapping asterisk, asterisk. And this man, the mayor, started shaking his head like it was some major offense. The energy shifted like someone had just thrown a grenade in the room. So here's the deal. All someone said was clapping, and he reacts like, yeah? And what you gonna do about it? But, sir, what are you reacting to? That's what's wild. You're acting offended, ready to regulate something that's not even disruptive. If clapping alone triggers you, you might be in the wrong line of work. Then it gets real ironic. The same mayor says, okay, as long as it's not disruptive, I'll allow clapping. And everyone's like, asterisk, finally. Asterisk, someone even says, you'll make me a happy man if you let us clap when it's appropriate. The mayor replies, let's build a bridge to better relationships. And just like that, someone gives a first clap. Sounds great, right? But don't get it twisted. That, unless it's disruptive clause, that's where the control slips back in. Because what does it define as disruptive? When someone claps at a council member criticizing him, when people laugh after he mispronounces a word, when the crowd agrees with something that makes him look bad, suddenly it's all disruption, and folks get escorted out. He's treating city council meetings like his personal man cave. But guess what? It's not your man cave, sir. This is a taxpayer-funded government space. You don't get to police emotions just because they make you uncomfortable. Now look, Mayor Clark, let me be honest. Since I started communicating with you, I've reached out more than once, especially after the arrest incident. I brought you some real concerns. And to your credit, you did respond. And for that, I want to acknowledge you. I appreciate the fact that you didn't ignore it. And because of that responsiveness, I want to try to see the situation fairly. I genuinely hope we can move past the emotional reactions, past the rhetoric, and get to the truth. Here's my honest take. You're anal, not in a mean way, but in a real way. You're methodical, precise, some would say obsessive. Jedediah isn't lying when he says it. You're extremely particular. It has to be done your way. The room has to function exactly how you envision it. Every detail matters to you, sometimes too much. But here's the problem. That kind of rigid control doesn't leave room for anyone else. No space for alternate ideas, for public emotion, for different communication styles. It becomes, do it my way or get out. And when that bleeds into governance, it turns authoritarian, even if unintentionally. Now, to the public, you're watching a man who stood up to people on many levels of politics. I'll give him that. But don't be blinded by flowery speeches or well-edited PR. There's still a major issue with how criticism is handled and how citizens are treated. And now let's fast forward. Because there was a moment in the meeting that night where a caller absolutely gave the mayor the business. Caller comes in hot. Hi, how are you? Last time we spoke, you laughed us off the air. It was a fun night. But this time, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Jedediah cuts in. You only get one. There's 35 people waiting. Caller. Okay, I got you. I just want to address one thing you said tonight about clapping. And here comes a hammer. You come off like a narcissist. Maybe you are. Maybe you're just super anal like Jed said, which isn't necessarily bad. But you don't lead with a servant's heart. That's the problem. You want total control, total order, total dominance in the room. And for what? Why do the people of this city have to bargain with you just to be allowed to clap in a meeting they paid for with their tax dollars? That's their right. I don't know if it's a power trip or what. You're a lawyer. You should know this. But I'm starting to think you just play lawyer. And she's right. You'd think a lawyer would know better, but plenty don't. And we've all seen it. People who are more talker than legal mind. They're charming, persuasive, well-spoken, and they know just enough to sound credible, but not always enough to act with real wisdom or depth. The caller continues. You treat the councilwoman and others who question you like they're the enemy. The people who don't agree with you always catch the most heat in those meetings. I saw what happened the night the councilwoman was arrested. She tried to raise a legitimate topic, and you shut her down. Someone cut her off, and it all escalated. That was on you. And she's not wrong. These are public meetings. The council, the people, they have the right to speak. They have the right to challenge you. They're not there to serve asterisk you. Asterisk, you're there to serve asterisk them. Asterisk, she wraps it up with a powerful reminder. If you're going to keep working with Jed, or at least listening to this dialogue, I hope you're absorbing something. Because what we're seeing right now, Mayor Clark, is a man who's forgetting his role. You're there to work for the people, not the other way around. And let's not forget the money part. The taxpayers pay salary. The people fund the government. So why do they have to ask permission to clap? Why are they being policed for emotional reactions in a civic space? Then there's the stare. Oh man, the stare. Sitting there in front of the camera, giving the lens that intimidating look like it's going to submit. Bro, all you're doing is mugging your webcam. Nobody's impressed. It's a council meeting, not a mafia movie. And in all this, she still ends with hope. I hope something good comes out of this. Good job tonight, Jed. I'll wait to hear your response, Mayor, but please, do better. I've never seen a mayor like you and Tiffany. And that's not a compliment. She's right again. You don't want to be compared to Tiffany Henyard. That's not a badge of honor. That's a red flag with flashing lights and a siren. You don't want your name boxed in next to hers on anything. That's the last thing a self-respecting official should want. And speaking of ambition, this man tried to become a super mayor. Yeah, while Tiffany was losing her grip on Thornton Township, Mayor Clark was quietly making moves. He was in the running for the Thornton Township supervisor position. And even though he claimed publicly that he had no intention of running, asterisk, he did. So while claiming he wasn't chasing power, he was literally trying to level up into another powerful seat. That's not public service. That's political climbing. That's exactly the behavior people are getting tired of. Final thoughts, what we saw in this exchange wasn't just about clapping. It wasn't even about noise or disruption. It was about control, ego, image management, and the disconnect between leadership and the people. Mayor Clark, if you're serious about changing the culture, you need to start by checking yourself, not just enforcing rules based on what you're feeling in the moment. You can't run a city like it's your living room. You can't silence public voices just because they bruise your ego. Clapping is not the threat. Accountability is not the enemy. And servant leadership isn't optional. It's required. So again, do better. And to the people watching, keep showing up, keep speaking up, keep clapping when it matters. Tiffany, the mayor seems to want to become the super mayor. So maybe we should start calling him that just to make him feel better and stop the bullying. Now, let's see what happens. Put a 1 in the comments if you think his response will be full of positivity, consideration, and humility. The things that he's definitely not going to show. But if you think he'll respond with arrogance and that I'm the king, don't tell me what to do attitude. Let me know in the comments too. I'm curious to see if you were right. It doesn't look good for Clark, and I agree with that assessment. But hold on, someone said something, and now it's getting interesting. Clark's responses are often contradictory, and the more you pay attention, the more it becomes clear. He'll act like he agrees, but then turn around and make the same mistakes again. He says things like, I'm trying to fix the problem, but that's often not the case. For example, being called a narcissist, he brushes it off, saying he's been called worse, and dismisses it as just another opinion. But let's be real, calling someone a narcissist is a serious accusation, and it's a reflection of how people see his behavior. Clark loves to talk about the people's house. He brings up this idea that there are certain things you can't do in the people's house, and he uses that to justify his actions. But here's where it gets interesting. He starts comparing his little office or meeting room to White House. He's not the president. He's not even close to being on that level. He tries to elevate his position, but let's be real, Clark, you're not the king. You're not the president, and you're not in Congress. The halls of Congress are full of people saying crazy things, but they still get to speak their minds. They get to voice their opinions and say whatever they want. Clark, on the other hand, tries to act like his space is as serious as the halls of Congress or the White House. He thinks the rules should be stricter because it's his house, but it's not. It's a city council, not a presidential arena. When people speak out, they get removed, but that's a sign of controlling behavior, not leadership. It's one thing to keep order, but it's another to silence dissent just because it doesn't fit your narrative. Another issue with Clark is how quickly he brings race into the conversation. Every time he faces criticism, he's quick to play the too much power for one black man card, invoking Malcolm X. It's as if he's trying to turn every disagreement into a race issue instead of looking at his own behavior. Sometimes, Clark, it's not about race, it's about your actions. You could just be acting like a jerk. But instead of reflecting on that, you deflect by saying that people don't like you because you're black. That's not always the case, and it's frustrating to watch. Clark doesn't seem to understand that being a leader requires humility and self-awareness. His need for constant validation and his refusal to take responsibility for his actions only make things worse. Instead of trying to pass the buck and blame others, he should focus on how to improve his leadership. But it's clear that he's more interested in defending himself than actually doing the work required of him. It's one thing to be a leader, but it's another to wield power just to shut people up. Clark has demonstrated time and again that he'd rather remove someone who challenges him than listen to them. That's not how leadership is supposed to work. If you're going to be in a position of power, you need to be open to criticism and dialogue, not just pushing your agenda and silencing opposition. In conclusion, Clark has a lot of growing up to do. He's not the super mayor he wants to be, and he certainly isn't acting in a way that earns respect. Instead of trying to turn everything into a battle about race or power, he should focus on listening to his constituents, being open to their input, and using his position to create real change. Until then, he'll just keep pushing people away with his authoritarian approach to leadership. Tiffany, let's talk about the mayor for a second. This guy wants to be the next super mayor, right? So maybe we should start calling him that just to give him the title he craves and make him feel better about himself. It might help him stop being such a bully. Now, let's think about this. Do you think when he responds to this, it'll be with positivity, consideration, understanding, and humility? Let me know in the comments if you think that's what's going to happen. But if you think he's just going to drop a response full of arrogance, like, "I'm the king, you can't tell me what to do," then drop that in the comments too. I'm curious to see if I'm right about this. It's honestly not looking good for Mayor Clark, and I think we can all agree on that. But just wait, hold on, because someone said something that made me pause for a second. They mentioned something about the mayor's behavior, and as usual, it's exactly what I expected. He'll act like he's agreeing, but then he turns around and does the same stuff that got him in trouble in the first place. He claims he's trying to fix things, but honestly, that's just lip service. He tries to brush off things like being called a narcissist by saying, "I've been called worse," but that's not an appropriate response to something so serious. People see his behavior, and that's how they label him. But no, he doesn't take any responsibility for his actions. It's just his way of deflecting. Let's talk about this people's house idea that Clark keeps bringing up. He seems to think that there are certain things you just can't do in the people's house, and he uses that to justify his actions. But here's where he's wrong. He's not the president, and his office is nowhere near the level of the White House. He's not a king or a president, and he's certainly not in Congress. The way he tries to elevate his own position, comparing it to the White House or the halls of Congress, just doesn't work. He tries to act like his office is some kind of sacred space where he gets to control everything, but that's not how this works. The people who work in Congress can say whatever they want, even if it's outrageous, and if someone gets loud, they'll remove them, but they can still speak their minds. Clark doesn't seem to get that. Then there's this weird moment where Clark brings up race. He says that he shouldn't be able to kick people out of meetings or have someone dragged out by 6 men because I'm a black man, and he acts like that's the reason people challenge him. No, it's not because you're black, Clark. It's because of your behavior. You can't just claim that every time someone calls you out, it's because of your race. Sometimes it's just because you're acting like a jerk. It's really frustrating to watch him use race as an excuse for everything that goes wrong. Clark loves to talk about how much power he has. He feels like he has this incredible power when he removes someone from a room or takes control of the situation. He talks about it like it's this big victory, but really, it just shows how little he understands about leadership. It's one thing to keep order, but it's another to feel like you're winning just because you can put someone in their place. He says he doesn't get a kick out of it, but we can all see through that. He does. It makes him feel powerful, and that's what he's after. The contradictions continue when it comes to the clapping during meetings. If people clap for him or something he agrees with, he's fine with it. But if people clap for someone challenging him or giving him some heat, suddenly it's disruptive. He'll call it out and say it's too much. It's all about whether the applause is in his favor or not. He only likes things when they benefit him. If someone else is getting attention, he doesn't like it. It's just another example of how Clark wants control, not dialogue. He wants things his way, or no way at all. And then there's the whole Mayor Chris thing. Clark doesn't like being called just Chris because, in his eyes, he's the mayor. He wants respect, which he thinks means being addressed as Mayor Chris or Mayor Christopher Clark. But then he'll turn around and say he's just a regular guy, just Chris. Which one is it, Clark? You can't have it both ways. You either want the respect of your title or you don't. You can't demand people call you mayor when it suits you and then play humble when it doesn't. He can't even keep his story straight. He says he's just a regular guy, but then expects people to bow down to him and treat him like royalty. It's hypocritical. I'm not buying what he's selling. The energy he gives off is just so contradictory. It's almost as if he thinks he can play both sides, but it's not working. He's going around talking about starting new committees, like a public works committee, which sounds nice in theory. And yes, things have gotten better with public works. Grass is getting cut, trash is being cleaned up, and the city is looking better. But when it comes to funding and figuring out how to make more improvements, Clark doesn't seem to want to do the work himself. He's asking residents to come in and figure out for him. He's not trying to take charge and do the hard work. He's trying to push that responsibility onto others. Clark says he wants ideas and solutions from other Harvey residents. That's fine. But if you're the one getting paid to do the job, then it's your responsibility to figure out, not to ask volunteers to do your job for you. He's passing the buck. He's asking for input and help, but then won't pay anyone to do the work. The committees he's trying to create are voluntary, meaning no one will get paid for doing the work that Clark should be doing himself. He's just trying to shift the burden onto others while he takes all the credit. I just don't get it. This guy is the mayor. He's supposed to be the one leading, not trying to make everyone else do his job. He's all about throwing people out of meetings if they don't agree with him, but when it comes to doing the real work, he wants to pass it off to others. That's not leadership. That's laziness. At the end of the day, I don't trust Clark. I don't like him, and I don't believe a word that comes out his mouth. His actions speak louder than his words, and all they show is that he's not serious about making real changes. He's more interested in maintaining control and playing power games than actually doing the work that needs to be done. He might try to act like he's all about working together, but the truth is, he's only concerned with his own agenda, and that's just not good enough for the people he's supposed to serve. If you made it this far, congratulations. You're the lucky number 7 in the comments. Mama loves you. Peace.